Good afternoon and welcome to On the Spot Motorsports Media. Tonight we have Raul, Torres joining us from South Georgia Motorsports Park. We're going to talk about their schedule, everything that's happening. There are a lot of new things going on, and we're going to dive into it as soon as we get through this one commercial. So just bear with us and we'll be right back.
60 years of innovation, 60 years of attention to detail, 60 years of rigorous testing under race conditions is what makes ATI Performance Products great. ATI has been helping racers like you reach the finish line first. Today, we manufacture a wide range of high-performance parts that are track-tested and race-proven. We're passionate about performance, and that passion is what drives you to the finish line first. See everything ATI has to offer at ATIRacing.com.
Raul, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy day. I know you have a lot of events coming up, and you actually have a test and tune this weekend and also part of Steeda Stampede. We've got some other thing going on as well. You're going to have the 28-inch tire class shootout and Top X. So going on this weekend. But again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. So, go ahead, Mitchell.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and let you lead, Robert.
Okay. Raul, thank you so much for joining us tonight. But I wanted to ask you, South Georgia Motorsport Park has a long history of some fantastic races and a great facility there in Valdosta, Adel area. What was it that drew you to it, and what caused you basically to pull the trigger to get involved to own the track?
Oh, Robert, it's been so many things that made me make this decision. It's a long story. Hopefully we have enough time, but
go right ahead.
There for a long time. I probably walked into the facility a good 7 or 8 years ago at South Georgia. I've always been friends with Ozzie Moya, the previous owner, and his wife, Maria. And I was just in awe to know that someone from my hometown owned that racetrack. Ozzie and Maria have done a lot in motorsports over the last decade or so. And for him to be in that position, to me, was just jaw-dropping. And since then, I've had my eye on it. It's something I've always thought I wanted to do as I got older. Once, my businesses were settled in South Florida, I wanted to make that next move. And South Georgia is a special place for me. I own the business outside of Cecil, where the track is at. So I've always loved South Georgia area, wanted to retire up here. And little did I know I wasn't going to retire, but jump into a time and a half job up here. But South Georgia has been on my radar for a very, very long time.
Okay. Well, I find it wonderful to hear, and I'm sure Mitchell would agree, and others, the fact that your whole family, you said your whole family's with your wife's involved. And so I take it, like you said, everybody's involved in what you're doing here, correct?
Yeah, so we're not corporate owned. It's not a hedge fund. This is owned, mom and pop owned, and operated like a small business. It is a large venue, but it's operated like a small business. If my wife isn't at the front gate, I am, or my daughters are. I've got 2 beautiful children that go to FSU just an hour and a half from here. And that was another reason, one of many reasons why we bought the racetrack, was to be closer to them as well. We're originally from South Florida, and they went away, both of them, different times, but they both went away to FSU, and that would be a 7-8 hour drive. Wouldn't see them that often. So once my youngest graduated high school and this opportunity became about, we thought it was a no-brainer. Like I said, a lot of factors played into us making this decision, but one of them was being closer to them so they could help us. We were going to be empty nesters once they left school or left to school. So what better opportunity for us to dedicate, 24 hours a day, if we can, 7 days a week, to a facility like South Georgia. We, like I said, many factors took a role into us making this decision. One of them was we were going to retire. We were on the other spectrum of what we actually did. My wife and I sold one of our bigger businesses in South Florida in January of last year, and we were looking to retire. No less than a month after we sold the business, talks started with, the Moyas and us about maybe possibly buying the facility and taking over. 6 months after that, we closed on the deal and moved up here full time. So we went from having a 6-month road trip planned and laid out and and in an app set up how many days we were going to be here and how many days we were going to be there, and all these beautiful images of, the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone and everything else.
Yep.
God was laughing in the background saying, "You're not going anywhere, buddy." We went 6 hours north, and we live now in Hayhira, and we love it up here, and jumped headfirst into South Georgia Motorsports Park. And it's been a blast.
Well, like you said, y'all had y'all's re-grand opening that took place on September the 30th. Here y'all are, cutting the ribbon.
Yes, sir.
To get things started off. What are some of the things after taking over the park that you wrote down on your list that you wanted to change or make better?
Well, we wanted to perfect as many things as possible. We know nothing's perfect, but first and foremost, we wanted to get a handle on equipment, on the electronics, verse ourselves. So although I've been racing for 30 years, owning a racetrack and racing at a racetrack is night and day. The Moyas have helped us tremendously, and some of the staff we've kept on board. The majority we did not. We brought in new staff members that have had experience elsewhere. But we focused on perfecting the drag strip. As a matter of fact, I laughed today because we bought it July 31st. In writing, I had scheduled to open another version of the racetrack, in the mud, dirt drag and mud pit and mud park on August 7th, just a week after the purchase. I said, we're going to buy the racetrack, and then we're jumping right away to the mud park because it's going to do well. It's, the demographics call for it. It's going to be a hit. Well, it wasn't until about 4.5, almost 5 months later that we weren't able to go to the mud parks. We started turning over stones and perfecting this and changing that. So there wasn't anything specific that we wanted to change right away or improve. We wanted to open our doors to all the racers. So I started listening to what the demand was, whether it were bracket racing or heads up racing, no prep racing. And I just became very connected with our racers and fans to see what they want. Because up until then, I didn't have that avenue of communication with them to see what exactly the draw was or what the need was in the area. You can't get ahead of yourself, and I didn't want to do that prior to closing. And anything could happen, right? It takes 30 to 60 days to buy a house. Imagine a piece of property this size that's attached to a business and all the licenses and insurance that go along with it. So until that was finalized, I really didn't want to start, making those connections. But we just wanted to, on the ground level, communicate with, or connect with our racers and our fans. And I think we did that right off the bat. From the community to the racers, from grudge racers to bracket racers, everyone's been very, very welcoming and receptive to our changes. We'll make a mistake here and there, and we'll admit when we're wrong, and we'll correct the problems. But it's been very, very well received, all the changes we've done, from equipment to hours, the determination, whether it's raining and we sit it out or we call it. Being a racer, it's been an easy transition for us because I knew what I liked on the other side of the fence. Looking in, I drive an hour and a half to Moroso, call, and nobody answers. And you pull up in West Palm Beach, and then the doors are closed because it rained 15 minutes prior us to arriving. And so things like that, I knew what I liked and what I didn't like as a racer. So I just implemented that into our business model, and it's worked out well.
It sounds
good. Speaking of some of the things, you're talking about the mud pits and all of that. Y'all are actually going to have a grand opening to the mud park on January 26th and 28th, and I think that's really great that you're doing that. You're using the facilities for not just drag racing, but for other forms of motorsports.
Yeah, I mean, I knew there were only so many lights out and no mercy in the year and finales we could host, right? We can't run a large event every single weekend. It's just not feasible. The demographics don't call for it. The area doesn't demand it. So I needed to use a facility to the best of its ability. I didn't buy, South Georgia Dragway. I bought South Georgia Motorsports Park, whether it's a dirt bike or a four-wheeler or bringing back the circle track, which we wholeheartedly intend to do. Carnivals, whatever it may be, I want to explore every last opportunity out there to use that land. So, as much as, the these, for example, marathon, savage races and stuff like that they run in parks and at county properties through the woods and mud holes. As much as people enjoy them, there's only a limited amount of areas that could host this. Like the school's not going to allow it. You can't run it in your backyard. You could privately own 1,000 acres down the street from us, but if you're not zoned or licensed to host events like that, then you're just not allowed to do it. Well, we are. So I want to explore everything from hot air balloon rides to fireworks, whatever the case may be. We need to make sure we're using that facility to the best of its ability, because at the end of the day, it costs us a pretty penny, and we want to make sure we get a good return on our investment. We could have taken the approach of just putting that money into the bank and let it sit there and enjoy the rest of our lives. But we wanted to make a difference. My wife has been on board from the get-go. It was never any question that this is what we both wanted to do. But ultimately, it's a business. And, the better the return, the more appealing it is to everyone else. So we're not done. We've built out of the 350 acres, we're probably going to use a good 300 of them right now. So I still have a little corner that I'm thinking of a million other things we could do with. But it's been exciting.
Okay. Well, I wanted to bring up a map of what y'all are looking at doing there at South Georgia, putting camping spots in so people can camp out.
Yep.
That'll make it real nice. You don't have to go try to find you a motel room.
Explain
about Valdosta. You can actually bring your motor home and come on out there and camp during the events.
Yeah.
As you can see on there, you can see where the circle track. Is there any plans with the circle track? Because I know years ago they made it a dirt track.
Yes.
And they had to shut it down because it was actually throwing mud, getting mud picked up in the air.
Correct.
And getting on the drag strip. Is there a way that y'all are thinking about going back to asphalt and try to run a couple races?
Yeah, shortly after they went dirt, they went back to asphalt. It didn't sit there for very long. The Moyos had it removed and they donated it to the local high schools, if I'm not mistaken. They received it for their clay fields and baseball fields and stuff like that. We're certainly not going to go back to dirt circle track. It's going to become an asphalt racetrack, and it is asphalt right now, but we need to perfect, some of the lighting, the electronics, things like that. The racetrack suffered a large deal of damages over about 5-6 years ago with a tornado, and the electronics were damaged. Some of the electrical stuff is not up to par. And me not coming from that background, I'm hesitant to make a decision immediately because I don't want to fail. I have high standards, and whatever we do, we want to make sure we succeed. So I want to make sure we team up with the right people or organizations to make sure when we do get that opportunity to bring it back, it's a hit. So I've used it. I mean, we were tickled in November when there were over 1,000 kids in the circle track. We brought back a monster truck show. As far as I know, it had never been hosted there, and we were able to secure a monster truck show. We put on 4 events over a course of 3 days. And the community came out, and it was an extremely successful event. We used the circle track for that. I understand Bill Bader tried a monster truck show in the drag strip one time, and that was, catastrophic.
Yeah, it didn't work so well.
Yeah, I do a lot of research. We're at home a lot, reading and looking up, past events at different racetracks and just learning from others' mistakes and trying to perfect what they do and bring it over. But we have used it. We already have probably 8 events off the top of my head that are going to be done at the circle track. It's not necessarily, pro stock or anything like that or any competitive. Well, any serious competition. It's not there yet. It's going to be more like daily driver drags, demolition derby, monster truck. We're having truck tug of wars. We're having barrel racing, just fun stuff that we could utilize the circle track because it is a beautiful facility. And as much as we want to bring back that competitive, series and stuff like that, we just, again, want to make sure we perfect the drag strip, perfect the mud park, then focus on the circle track. And that's my end goal, Mitch, is to go from one to the next to the next. So although we can't have 52 large events at the drag strip, I'm a firm believer we could have at least one at every racetrack that we have. And if we've got the circle track, the drag strip and the mud park, why can't we have an extravaganza once a month and then have a fourth weekend, call it, for a smaller race or even a rain now, or makeup date or something like that. So that's the goal, to where this community is benefiting from what that racetrack was intended. Studies show we bring in north of $20 million to the local economy if it's run efficiently. And I believe we could do that. As a matter of fact, I know we're going to do that. It's going to take a little bit of time. But that's our end goal, to be able to jump from one race track to the next. And by utilizing the fields or the property to the best of its ability, I think we're going to be able to accomplish that.
Right.
Yep.
Well, with the land that you have for the mud events and stuff, and you have the circle track, have you thought about possibly doing supermoto, where they run bike events both on mud and on asphalt?
Yeah, so we've considered everything. The racetrack is designed beautifully. I mean, for example, this mud park that we've designed and where we're parking, how we're coming in, the drag strip isn't affected one bit. So it's a different entrance altogether, different exit. Can you imagine, for example, our grand opening, like you mentioned, is January 26th to the 28th. 4 days later, we have Sick Week coming on with 500 racers and thousands of spectators. Can you imagine having a pressure washer clean 900,000 square feet of mud on asphalt? So it's been designed to where we could host 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 spectators at the mud park, and the drag strip not even realize, we were having that out there. So it's built very well, and we had to tweak some stuff and some gates, but we've perfected it at least in paper, as to what we think we could run one and the other. And back to your question, absolutely. We've looked at the south parking lot for either go-karts or an enduro race like that, and even bicyclists. You could have BMX competition over in the circle track. There's just so much we could do. But because it's run like a mom and pop operation, it's my wife and I behind the scenes, there's only so many hours in the day we could address these situations. And once we are done with the mud park and then we go to the circle track, okay, now we've got a full schedule. What's next, right? We've got 30 staff members or 15 or whatever the case may be full time. Now we've got a lot of help as it is. I mean, there's 7 of us full time right now running this facility. 3 of us are behind the scenes and 4 at the drag strip or mud park every day. And this is just with the drag strip. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in a couple of months when we're having a couple of thousand spectators for the mud park as well. And then over to the circle track. So that's part of our goal and one way you benefit the local economy is by employing them. We have 30 plus, almost 40 staff members that work part-time at this point. We've been blessed in every aspect, from the racer support, the fans, the employees. We've created one heck of a staff. They're very experienced. I'm talking from concessions to our starter to our spotters, ET Shack. We've been very efficient over the last couple of months, and only getting better as we continue to mesh together and work well together and understand one another. It's been a lot of fun.
That's good to hear. You brought up some really good points that really piqued my interest, and I believe other people did too. One, you brought in that you're meshing well with the community. And that's good to hear, because we hear all the time about drag strips having problems with communities having problems and stuff, where it seems that South Georgia is not having that, and which is great. And then the other part is the fact that you've added the RV sites out there in the backside, which a lot of tracks that down here that I've noticed don't have that option. What are you doing at the RV sites in particular? Because I have some friends that want to come camp overnight and stuff like that, or come watch and whatnot. Are they able to plug in, or are they something different?
So right now, because we really don't know what the response is going to be like, and we've spent a fortune as it is to build the mud park. I've been to a lot of mud parks in the past, and they're all primitive for the most part, unless you run into someone that's got 1,500 acres and 20 of them have RV sites. But considering how much we've already invested into the property and into the build of the mud park, right now they're primitive. I've designed over 320 parking spots, and we've already, as a matter of fact, today Colquitt, which is our FPL of South Georgia, they've already installed a transformer, and we're running power to our little peninsula, or Midway Peninsula. We have a peninsula that we've designed where our food vendors or merchandise vendors are going to park. So remember, everything's away from the drag strip. So we have to, everything we have at the drag strip, we've got to duplicate, or at least we're trying to duplicate at the mud park, which is on the complete opposite. So we're having to run power, sewer, water, everything. We've got concrete slabs for wash stations, bathrooms that the drag strip has never had, and now it will have. So because the electrical spots were going to be a fortune. If the response is there, it's already designed to be implemented. We could break ground as soon as the summer because it's our slow season as it rains. We could break ground as soon as the summer for that. And I already have the estimate from the electrician. I've already spoken to Colquitt, and they know what they need to do. They've been very cooperative. The city, the county, everyone's been very, very supportive of the ideas we've brought to their attention. So as of now, they're primitive, but we have designed campsites. Like as Mitchell posted the campsite, they're numbered, they're lettered, campsite A, B, and C. The reason being is we've been to mud parks where, some guys will take an acre on 3 truck and trailers. They rope off a big area, and now before you know it, you're using 5 acres for 5 guys. So we have over 320 pit parking spots, which are at least 80 feet long by 25 feet wide. Plenty for a truck and trailer and side-by-sides and stuff like that. And if the demand is there, like we suspect, because there's been so many shares and comments and phone calls about this, if the demand is there, our intentions are to fully run electricity out there for the campsites, not only for the vendor midway, but for the campsites as well. And possibly even racing at night, in the warmer months when it's real hot and miserable. Right now, we're not running at night for safety precaution, but we want to walk before we could run, right? We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. The response was so overwhelming that we went ahead. So my intentions from the get-go was if you're familiar with the racetrack, is to build on the east side of the railroad track. The response was so overwhelming that 2 weeks into it, I said, guys, we need to go to phase 2. So like a developer would when he's building a community, he builds section A or phase 1, then phase 2 and phase 3 as they sell out. Well, we jumped right into phase 2 because of the response. And we went ahead and built on 117 acres on the west side of the railroad tracks. And there's mud bogs over there. There's a wash station. There's trails. It's going to be a lot of fun. But if the demand is there for the electrical spots, we'll be happy to put them. Sewer is going to become a challenge. Sewer doesn't, even the drag strip doesn't have sewer. We have to tie into the city and the county. And that, I don't foresee that to happen. But it'd be nice, to have quiet time where no one's running their generators. You're able to plug in. But like I said, we have to walk before we could run. But the facility is designed so well that it allows us for growth like that. And if you look at the map, you could drive in one way, out the other. It's the ground is nice and dry. We had a couple of inches of rain a couple of days ago with a storm that came through, and you could drive any 2-wheel drive truck through there right now. It's been real nice. It's been good. We're excited.
Well, I know you're only 41 days away to one of y'all's biggest events that y'all have with Duck. And that's the Lights Out 15.
Yep. Yes.
15 years, Duck has been holding the race there, and it's going to take place on the 22nd through 25th. What are some of the key features that you think that keeps drawing people year after year back to that race?
Well, first and foremost, the promoter. I think Duck could succeed anywhere. If you take him to Immokalee, which is the smallest racetrack in Florida, he'd be successful. He knows what to say, who to say it to, when to say it. He puts out great purses. He has phenomenal, with a couple of guys' help, he's got phenomenal rules that stay unbiased to everyone. And, he's been extremely successful for a reason. He puts in a lot of hours. He thinks of things 20 times before he puts it out there. But it's strictly because of him. I believe this race could succeed anywhere. And prior to purchasing this facility, I told the Moyas, all I need is one opportunity from Donald to prove myself. And he gave us that. He didn't know me from Adam, and I knew of him. Of course, I had raced at Lights Out and No Mercy previously in my own cars. And but all I needed from him was the opportunity. And his flame, he'll tell you, his flame's been relit. He's super excited about what we're doing. He's had a phenomenal relationship with the Moyas in the past, and they've been very successful. that anytime there's a change of ownership or management, people assume, okay, what's different? Oh, I'm going to go somewhere else. And Donald's got a large amount of relationships with people throughout the country and the world and other racetrack owners and racers. Oh, let's take it over here. And that was his opportunity, and he could have done that. And he flat out said, South Georgia is my home. And I needed to make sure he felt at home during our first experience with him, and he couldn't have been happier. From him, his parents, his in-laws, everyone, patted us on the back at the end of the day and said, thank you. They really enjoyed themselves. And if you notice, he's doing a lot more lives. He's paying $3,000 to the winner of a Cheeto eating contest. How about that?
Really? I didn't see that one.
Yeah. So he's doing a Cheeto eating contest in October. He's also partnered up with Nate from Streetcar Bragging Rights. And they're doing a race over at the Circle Track during one of the nights of No Mercy. So Donald and I have similar visions. We want to bring entertainment back to that race, whether it be a marching band or car show or a jet fly over the racetrack. We want to do whatever it takes to make sure people are entertained and not just come out to watch drag racing. And that was part of his look for years, is that he put on his hats and jackets and everything else and the big clocks and chains, and it was a personality, and that's what we want to bring back. We want to bring entertainment back to South Georgia, and he gave me the opportunity and we ran with it, and it's not going to stop. We're only going to continue to dig deeper and figure out what's next, because racing's evolved over the last decade and you can't stay still. If you do, you're going to get run over. So he's always had a vision, and he's implemented that into facts, and he's been very successful. And we're honored to be able to have the opportunity to work alongside of him.
Yeah, the one thing that I like about us events, special lights out, that he's got all the classes from Radio versus the World all the way down to open comp.
Yes.
So it makes it available for any racer to participate. You don't have to have a three-second car in the 8th mile to be able to go there and compete. You can open comp your daily driver if you want to, as long as you can pay your entry fee in, which is pretty reasonable to pay around all of that.
Yeah.
And get in the gate. That has been very difficult in years past. I mean, just so many people attending to participate from all over the world. It's just it's a show. If nobody's ever been, it is a show, and you definitely have that right. And I like some of the things I've been hearing a lot of people talk since you've come on there, and some people some friends of ours, Mitchell and I know that race there locally and around there. They are really impressed with the attention that y'all are putting with the track and with the personnel, with the people, and with the racers. I mean, I believe you even have a manager of bracket racing or something like that, but you have somebody in charge of your racing program. And I even met a gentleman up at the bracket finals at up in South Carolina. He was wearing South Georgia shirt, and I don't think anybody pointed him or anything. He was just in the back of the lanes helping. He was just bringing people in, helping them in the staging lanes and all that. And I was impressed because the man just stepped up and was just helpful. So if he is at another track at another event, helping everybody, including his team, so it goes to show, reflects on how I believe he would obviously carry himself at your track, which is a compliment to you and your staff.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we're avid believers that competition brings business, right? So the minute we took over, I reached out to Gainesville, Silver Dollar, North Florida, South Carolina, where you saw the gentleman working the lanes.
Ray, okay, that's him.
Yeah, I've reached out to all these facilities, and why not work together? In the past, I've as a racer, I've seen promoters, book dates on top of one another, or racetracks not work with one another. And I'll give you a perfect example. Palm Beach closed, and you would think Bradenton or Orlando would benefit from that, and it's on the contrary. When Palm Beach closed, there were hundreds of racers that then sold their race cars because they don't have the luxury to travel 3-4 hours and spend the weekend away racing. They'd come out their weekend races and go back home because it's down the street, and they build their cars because Palm Beach had this class or that event, and when they closed, they went ahead and sold their race cars, and now these guys at Orlando and Bradenton aren't going to benefit from it. If I'm doing well, Gainesville's going to, I'm going to get Gainesville's attention, and they're going to want to step up their game because they're going to get left behind. And just like I'm looking at the bigger racetracks around the country to see what they're doing and competition. That's why you go to a strip mall or you go down, main highway and you see Toyota, Nissan, Ford, Chevy, all one next to one another. They don't build Ford on the other side of town by themselves. They want you to drive the Nissan. Oh, wow, look at that Ford across the street. And just like drag racing, if we all work together, we would benefit so much more. And that is something that I've implemented in our staff. Like I've offered every last racetrack within 4 hours of us help, whether it's equipment, staff. I won't think twice to send 6 or 7 of our guys down to Bradenton for a Pro Mod series if they need help. Right. My doors are open to them, and it seems as if their doors are open to us. And you all as the racers benefit from that because we're working with one another. I canceled a race today because Silver Dollar had a similar race on that same weekend, and I didn't know. He had canceled or moved 2 of his bracket races to accommodate our schedule, so why not do it for him? And we were at PRI together having dinner, enjoying a great time. And I think if we help one another, this industry could stay alive and around and thriving for so much longer, as opposed to, I'm tired of this and I'm having a fight with Bradenton and I'm having a fight with Gainesville and Orlando and I don't get along and I'm just going to sell out and build 6,000 homes. And that may be what crosses some track owners' minds when they're fighting an uphill battle, as opposed to, it being fun and exciting and having that camaraderie amongst owners and track owners, or track managers. So
well said. Well said.
And one of the other things, I'm sorry, Robert.
No, please go ahead.
One of the other things as racers, when we have problems with how operations are going on at the track, we don't need to take to the airways on Facebook and X to downgrade the track.
Yeah.
We need to take it to the track manager and say, hey, I may have an idea that may solve this issue. Talk and discuss it, instead of trashing your home track on Facebook. And then other people see it and they're like, I'm not going to go to that track. I don't care how much the payout is.
Yeah.
Because this guy's saying this problem's going on there. We got to stop that as racers.
It doesn't help. Once
we're getting into retirement, my wife and I knew I'd work or volunteer at a racetrack somewhere, wherever we ended up, prior to this idea of us buying a racetrack, because I wanted to be around that. Once we're done our obligations, with our businesses, I wanted to enjoy what I did, whether it be a greeter at Walmart, because I enjoy speaking to people and socializing, or at a racetrack, or at I enjoy sports or volunteering, coaching somewhere. But I encourage people to every once in a while, give 8 hours a year to a racetrack and say, hey, I want to work the water box, or I want to, help you in parking. I want to work the front gate, to get an idea of what we go through. And I never did realize, I had volunteered at other racetracks, and until then, I didn't realize, the obstacles they chase. The first event I ever hosted, and this was prior to me owning the racetrack. We were supposed to close prior to May, and it didn't happen, but I had signed on that promoter, and Ozzy gave me the privilege to run that event. This was a big race with a gentleman called Big Low. He's a promoter, brings in thousands of spectators everywhere he goes. At noon, we lost power to the facility. So my first ever race, we lost power. We had absolutely zero power to the entire facility right until we opened the gates at 5 o'clock. Colquitt came out. They had 8 bucket trucks there. And the stress level that we went through to think, oh, my God, this is our first. People are traveling from literally all over the country to this one big event. It was a big event, very successful. But you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Just like we go through troubles at home with our families, our starter may be having a bad day. Just don't take advantage and just jump to the airways, like Mitchell said, and knock on someone. Come speak to someone. We'll make it right. And I've made plenty of mistakes. We're going to continue to make mistakes, but we're human. To crucify us on the internet isn't justifiable. It's the way some people do things like that to make themselves feel better. Maybe, I don't know. But I assure you, when we're wrong, we'll make it right. And there's plenty of times we've committed mistakes, and we're going to continue. And I'm excited to make mistakes because that's only going to make me better. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. So in prior businesses, I always went into challenging meetings with excitement, because you're up against a wall because of a deadline or a budget or something you may have done wrong, and you think you're going in to get crucified, and you're very defensive. I went in on with the opposite mentalities. I'm going to learn what I did wrong, and now I'm going to be able to make it better. And that's how my businesses have grown in the past, by learning what we've done wrong. Don't tell me what we've done right. We'll continue to do that. Tell me what we've done wrong, and we'll perfect it, and we'll move forward. And that's it. But if you reach out, if you call the racetrack, this is going to ring. It goes straight to my voice, or goes straight to my phone. If it goes to the voicemail, I'll call you back. I answer dozens of calls every day, and we're very personable. We'll tell you, yes, that those sunglasses were found in parking spot 32. They're at the front gate, or no, you cannot leave your truck at 3 a.m, or yes, we'll be there. Come on by at 3 a.m, So our doors are always open, and if you reach out to us, you'll be surprised at the response you're going to get, as opposed to just attacking us online, like you said, Mitchell.
Right. Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a commercial break here for a second, and when we come back, I want to talk about a new sponsor that y'all just announced the other day for your left lane. I tell you what, I wish you could really cut hair that quick.
What a great commercial.
I wish I had that much hair to cut.
Someone that could use a haircut like that.
I know, someday, right? But yeah, go ahead, Mitchell. You were gonna.
Yeah, you announced just the other day that y'all have a new sponsor that's jumped on board. It's going to be in your left lane. Tell us a little bit how all that came up with TBM Brakes.
Well, it started with cold calls, to be honest with you, back in September or July. I didn't start calling until September, but once I got my feet on the ground and I started to call sponsors or existing sponsors to renew or come on board, they were one of the ones I reached out to. And like a lot of other sponsors, they said, okay, well, our budget's, already spent, because I bought the racetrack midway into the fiscal year, and some of them had already budgeted for 23 and their expenses, and others were able to come on board. But for the most part, the bigger sponsors had allocated some money and have already spent it, like they do now in January and February every year. But I've reached out to them and, 36 other sponsors. And so I just dropped the seed with TBM Brakes and Doug Cook. And they came out at the No Mercy, saw everything we were doing, saw us battle 3 days of rain and didn't let up. We'd worked 14, 15, 16-hour days with smiles on our faces. And it shows because we enjoy it. It seems like the staff, I honestly feel we have a phenomenal staff, and we'll go head-to-head with anybody. The staff we've been able to assemble is second to none. And they helped him gravitate to us. I dropped that seed in September with Doug and Motion Raceworks and TBM Brakes, and he owns a couple of different businesses at this point, and they've continued to grow over the years. But after the race, he just out of nowhere, and we never spoke that weekend. So I've met thousands of people in the last 6 months I've owned this, and forgive me, but I can't remember everyone's face and names. And I may have emailed them, and like you said, Robert, oh, good to see, good to put a face to the name. We hadn't met, or seen each other yet. And so like that, I've had thousands of experiences where we've communicated one way or the other, but we don't know who's who. And I may have walked next to Doug 10 times but he was watching us, right? Like, who are these guys? What are they doing? And everyone sees our posts on Facebook. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're doing that. Okay, what are they really about? And we proved ourselves at No Mercy. We were challenged with the weather. Our staff, we were overstaffed. Our bathrooms, our portalets, our garbage was picked up on a regular basis. Concessions was open early and closed late. We have restaurant style food. So he emailed me shortly after the event and says, hey, look, man, I was looking at you guys from afar, and you, no ands, ifs, or buts, impressed us. We want to be part of South Georgia. We don't know how or to what capacity, but we know for sure in 24 we want to be a part of that. So that's all he had to say. Come, probably January 1st, I said, hey, by the way, and like the other companies I pitched, we have the left lane, we have scoreboards, we have, billboards on the stands, we have the tower. Doug is someone, and Doug represents the ideal business person I want to partner with. So I worked out with him a deal to where I felt I needed to do whatever it took to get him on board, just like I did with Donald. Is what do I need to do to get Donald to give me that one opportunity? And that's what I looked at for Doug. I said, what do I need to do to get them on board? And we worked it out. And that's all I need. I need an opportunity to create a relationship with someone, and I won't let them down. So Doug has seen the changes that we've done. He was excited to be part of South Georgia Motorsports Park. And it didn't take much convincing. You know, he right away offered to do this and that and the other. And I think we've hit it off right off the bat. And I think it's going to be a very successful, mutual benefiting relationship. He's got a ton of followers. We have a ton of followers. We're not in it for the money, believe it or not. We're both passionate about what we do. And that's what I want to, it sounds corny, but that's honestly the God honest truth. That's what we want to surround ourselves with. Whether you give me $1,000 for a scoreboard or $100,000, if you're energetic, passionate, and are going to do anything, and you're willing to run through a wall to keep this industry alive, that's who I want on my scoreboard. And those guys down there are willing to do that. They've got their hands in everything, whether it's marketing, racing, sponsorship. If you look around, he works with dozens of racetracks throughout the country, sponsors dozens of racers, gives a ton of discounts and giveaways all the time. He's just a good soul. And that's who we want to partner with. And we gravitated to one another and it worked out for the best. And they're hoping to stay long-term, and we're hoping to keep them long-term as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun with them on board. And like them, I'm going to prove myself to everyone out there. There's a lot of promoters still looking from the outside and like, this guy's saying they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And, okay, well, it went well, no mercy. Well, once we blow it out of the park, it lights out. And Michael Hill's year-end finale was a big hit, and Man Cup, he was super happy with what he's seen and what we've done. I'm hoping in 2 or 3 years we're having to fight off promoters and we say, look, we're booked. We don't have any space for you. But all I need is that opportunity, and we're going to prove ourselves. We're going to prove ourselves because truth is, not because it's mine, this is one of the most beautiful facilities in the country. I'm very biased, obviously. It's ours now. But I've been to racetracks from Tennessee to South Carolina and to Texas. And I think South Georgia is just as nice, if not nicer, to any facility in the country. With the asphalt parking we've got, the shutdown we've got, now the staff that we've brought in, the home feel that we're going to give our racers. I don't see why people won't want to race at our facility. We're gonna enjoy ourselves because we love it. It's not what Palm Beach and Memphis used to be, just a corporate-owned business that the numbers is all they cared about. And all they cared about was to turn a penny at the end of the day. If I lose money and I bring in a fun atmosphere, I'll put it back into payouts, into jump houses, giveaways, whatever the case may be. We want to entertain our racers and fans, no doubt.
And I tell you what also probably helps sell their interest being a marketing partner is walking around in the pits and seeing a couple of competitors running their brakes on their cars as well.
Yeah.
Right. And you have two events off the top of my head that have TBM sponsored racers coming in. Doug, obviously, with the Drag and Drive event. I don't know if he's going to run Sick Week this year or not, but he will in future. So he's an ambassador, obviously, of his products. But also there's another representative, I can't remember the gentleman's name. Anyway, he's in Georgia. He runs Super Stock Eliminator, and he'll be at the points race, the Lucas Oil points race, and he's a TBM representative. Yeah. So I've seen their equipment, and there is some beautiful products. Yeah. There is in motion, and it opens the doors to other avenues, not just the standard, like you said, standard bracket racing, but also heads up, drag and drive, big rim racing, etc. So I think it's a great match. It really is.
Yeah, he's definitely a leader in the industry, and we couldn't be prouder to partner with them. We're very excited as to what the future holds with them.
That sounds
good. One of the things that Robert likes what you're doing is y'all are putting up flyers for y'all's events, for your bracket racing events. and going ahead and explaining the purses, I wanted to throw this up here real quick. And actually, we were talking earlier before coming on that the communication level between you and the racers that come and participate in the ET series, y'all have talked. Y'all have gone to 2-a-days on a weekend, and y'all have upped the purse as well. And y'all doing some index racing as well. There's your your index classes, running open comp. Them are pretty nice purses there.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it has to be profitable. It's a business, and I've had events already where we didn't make ends meet, and we'll learn from those. So this was my stab at listening to the racers, making changes where they felt needed to be made, and also consulting with my race director. I don't come from a bracket history. I've hired a race director out of Thomasville, Georgia. He's been bracket racing for about 30 years. Ray Williams Sr., very well known in the industry, very well respected. And we can't act as if we know everything, right? If I'm not an accountant, I'm not going to file my taxes. I've got more, accounting situations and businesses to mingle that I don't dare that they even venture down that road. So I hire an accounting firm, and I've had one for a very long time. And just like this, I bring in experts to where we need them. And Ray's done exactly that. He's filled that role. And I, with him, have listened to the racers, and we've made adjustments. Some don't understand some of the changes. Others are all for it. The payout's a whole lot more, but the demand is there. If you guys really want this to succeed, well, you've got to show up. We've had a couple of comments. Oh, we'll figure it out once you run 2 or 3 series. If the numbers add up and if it's successful, then we'll come out. Well, if everyone has that mentality of let me just stay home this weekend, guess what? We're not going to have any racers, and we're not going to have that race again. Because we're not going to give out over 12. I think we're closer to $13,000 every single race day for bracket. That's $26,000 in the weekend. That money's got to come from somewhere. So we're looking for sponsors, buyers. Racers have to pitch in and put their $100 buy-in or $75, whatever the case may be. And it has to be a minimum car count. We're not in it to lose money. I don't mind losing money. I want to give it all back to the racers, but it's got to come from somewhere. And there's only so many times I could lose money at an event before we continue to beat a dead horse. So for us to be successful in this bracket series, hell, I want to give a $50,000 payout. Why not? But the response that has to be there. If in the $1 million race they get 100 racers and 50 spectators, it's not going to happen again. So we just need everyone's support. And before knocking us, come out, try it, and say, hey, look, maybe we do it this way. And I put it out there. I said, if something's not perfect about the bracket program, we'll change it. That's not a problem. But we've got to start somewhere. And I think the majority, if not all of them, have recognized that we're making attempts to make it right. And so Ray worked with Gainesville, Silver Dollar, North Florida, South Carolina, Orlando, and he's even reached out to Braden to see what they pay when they have it. We don't want to step on anyone's toes. Jody over at Gainesville has been nothing but phenomenal with us. And we've all moved dates around to accommodate one another. And you guys as bracket racers, we want you to go to Silver Dollar. We want you to then go to Gainesville, then finish on us, and then finish that, the 4th weekend over at North Florida. So where else are you going to get 4 different places to race at within 150 miles, let's call it, So we work together. We're all going to benefit. I don't have to split car count between here and North Florida or Gainesville or anywhere else. So we'll make changes. And index racing, everyone loves this. So why not cater to an index racer? And we heard those concerns. And since I bought it in July last year, we didn't have any. And that's something people kept saying, commenting. And I've got the fortune or disfortune to be tied to my phone day in and day out. So I get those notifications and I see them. I promise you, I see them. So there's only so many times I could avoid a message that's the same thing. Hey, we want this. Hey, we want motorcycles. We brought in motorcycles to bracket racing. That wasn't the case last year. We may have it in March for our first bracket race, and 3 of them show up. And we'll say, hey, guys, look, we gave you this payout. We offered this, and 3 of you showed up. We just can't have it anymore. But we give them the opportunity. At that point, I could sleep well at night saying, I've given them the chance. It didn't work out. We move on to something, bigger and better. But we're going to find the right system. I promise you, we're going to find the right system to what makes everyone happy. And you will be thrilled at the bracket program we're going to build at SGMP. No ands, ifs, or buts. If it's this season, I don't know. We may have hit gold already, may have hit a home run. I don't know. We'll know in 10 months from now. But if it isn't perfect, we're going to make it right. I promise.
Well, I know I'm definitely planning on coming up for a couple races at least this year as my schedule allows. And I believe Mitchell is going to do the same thing. And we know several others down our way that's planning on that haven't raced there in a year or so like that. So I look forward to it. Look forward to seeing the improvements and the changes and just the whole atmosphere.
Thank you.
So definitely. I am thoroughly. I love your energy, and I think everybody would agree with that. Your enthusiasm, your desire to make things better. So this is going to be a great year. I mean, considering you've only had it a handful of months, this is going to be a great year for South Georgia Motorsport.
It's very simple, Robert. Here's what it is. To me, it's a hobby. At this point, it's been a dream of mine for a very long time. It was a hobby for the last 30 years. So for the first time in my adult life, I'm doing something I'm passionate about. And if I'm not having fun, I'm going to move on. It has to be fun for me. And how can it not? I work at a drag strip. I would have volunteered. So here's what happens. Ozzy didn't know this, and Miss Maria didn't know this. Had they told me, hey, we've got a position open, you want to volunteer? I could have run it for them for free because I wanted to do something like this. They passed the baton. They sold it to me. I signed the papers, gave them what I gave them, and life goes on. But this, to me, is going to be fun. And in turn, when we're having fun, the racers are going to see that. They're going to feed off of that. We're not in it to be nasty, to argue. We're not argumentative. We're very customer-friendly oriented. I've had all aspects of business pretty much, from restaurants, transport companies, real estate. I've been just about everywhere in different industries, and I've gotten a sense of how to treat people. And putting the two together, customer service and what I love, couldn't come any easier for me. And that maybe it's showing, I don't know. But we're at a racetrack. I'm not a doctor saving someone's life. You know, these hands don't determine whether the operation is successful or not. So if we're not having fun, what are we doing? You know, why are we going through that gate miserable? I got to pay this, I got to do that. You know, so one of our goals is to make sure when everyone leaves the racetrack, they're leaving as happy as they came in. So where we're driving an hour to a race, we just changed the carburetor and we changed the gears and it's going to do this and it's going to do. We're all excited about what's going to happen, and I've got a shot to win. And we're meeting up with buddies that we only see once a month at the racetrack or every couple of months. Then we get in there and something happens and you argue with the staff and things are run wrong and you leave aggravated. Well, our goal is the opposite. Our goal is that you leave as excited as you were when you came in the gate. And I think we're going to accomplish that.
You look forward to coming back.
Yes, sir.
It is definitely a thing. I don't know what else to say, but I think you hear it all right there, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, right there, the energy and enthusiasm is second to none. I really enjoy it because you said something earlier which really hit home with me, and I've told Mitchell this. When I first started at our local track, I volunteered, okay, just because I just absolutely love drag racing. So I was in high school, whatever, and I volunteered to go work at our track, and then they offered me, so, well, you can come out here part-time, obviously. You know what I mean? So I started the ticket booth and helped in tech and the water box, starting line, all those things that everybody kind of takes for granted unless you experience it, including running the staging lanes. So I tell everybody that at least once go volunteer at your track to do something. Work on the starting line, push a broom, do something. You'll be surprised on how some people will change their attitude because it gives them a different perspective. You know what I mean? That they didn't realize before, and it changes things to the better. So they become more appreciative of everybody that is there working all those hours and in the heat and things like that. So I know our track and others, we're very, very appreciative of everybody on the staff, from the front gate to the ticket booth to everybody on the starting line, tower, everybody. Don't get me wrong, everybody has a bad day now and then, which that happens. But overall, really good fan friendly, family friendly, and so that it's exciting. And we're racing. What we were racing, Mitchell? When's our first race? Like 2 weeks?
Yes, end of this month.
I don't know. I just keep thinking of all the work I got to do, but 2 weeks.
You'll get there.
Boy, I can tell you. But yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I am looking forward to it. Just the fact that you're adding the camping sites and adding the mud pit and adding the other activities going on there. And you already mentioning things that I've heard other tracks doing, like hot air balloons and balloon releases and concerts and other outdoor activities and things like that. And we've always thought that for years, is because this huge, beautiful facility not being used for quite the potential that is there. Yeah. That's available to it. And I mean, even the drive-in is beautiful. And but I tell you something that'll scare you is that train in the middle of the night. When it's quiet, if it's bad weather out, that train will get your attention. It will.
That's going to be the talk of the weekend at our grand opening for the Mud Park, because we've got a good of 320. There's probably 60 of them that back up to the train tracks.
Oh, really?
They may not have realized it's on our map. I'm not disguising it. They may not realize where they're parking, but they're going to learn soon enough at 3 a.m. when it's blowing its horn. But it is what it is. You know, when you're out there having fun, you put that aside. Hopefully they'll look past that and enjoy themselves.
Maybe they'll play so hard it won't wake them up.
A lot of them will. A lot of them tend to enjoy themselves. Yeah, they will.
It'll shake the windows out of your trailer. I mean, but it'll be the topic of conversation the next morning. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, I got a good story about that one, but I'll tell you that one later. About
y'all talking about volunteering and doing stuff for your track. And that's one of the things I started doing. I went to Jody and I said, Jody, I says, can I live stream the races? I says, I won't charge you a thing. I said, I'll set up the cameras and a run. And it's funny because I'll switch them when I'm not down there in the staging lanes. And so I had read back, someone says, well, why did the camera quit switching back and forth and you got two things? Someone says, he's down there getting in his car. He's racing.
He's racing. He's the one with the helmet on, So, and I've always teased Mitchell. I said, we're going to put cameras in my car and his car. We're going to run each other. And we're going to put that up just for fun. And we're going to do that more as the years come and put cameras in different areas, GoPros and whatnot in people's cars and on the track and stuff, just to get it out there so people understand how much fun this is.
Yeah.
How much enjoyment can be had from everything from a junior dragster to a motorcycle to a street car, all the way up to super pro, all the way up to pro mods, et cetera. And, and many things. So, but that's something we want to do. And that's something that this podcast, we're hoping to continue to do is show the good side of the sport.
Yeah. No, aside from
just
that,
like yourself and others.
Yeah.
What's that?
From that, the camaraderie that we build racing, at other racetracks and meeting friends and people we only see when we go to Indianapolis or we go to, South Carolina. I've built friends over the last 30 years that are like family. I remember distinctively driving to Texas, having an issue with the bus and knowing, okay, where are we? We're in Atlanta. Who do we know in Atlanta? And I had a dozen phone numbers to call from racers that live in the Atlanta area, and the relationships we build at these racetracks, we can't take away. So whatever money we make or win or lose at a racetrack, that we can't take with us. When we're laying in our deathbed, we're not going to count our money. We're going to remember the guys we raced with, the memories we've had. And more than anything, we're going to build such great memories at these racetracks if it's a positive influence, And then I think we could all attest to the fact that we've built phenomenal relationships at racetracks.
Mm-hmm. Right. Completely agree. And with all the events coming up, boy, you are going to be a busy man. You and your wife and whole family, and wow.
That's a good problem to have. It's exactly, and you got to be careful what you ask for sometimes. But I think in the first 6 months, we're off 2 weekends, and it is what it is. That's what we've asked for, and as we continue to grow, we'll be busier. We'll just hire more help, and it's not reinventing the wheel or anything like that. Just making it work one way or the other.
Well, I know in February, the 2nd and the 3rd, you're going to be really busy. You're going to have a lot of kids coming in there for the Wright Trailers World Series of Juniors that's going to be taking place. And I think that's really, really neat. Do you know if Cami Caruso is going to be there as well with Wright Trailers and with the kids since she came up through those ranks?
Yeah, we're super excited. They specifically told us we have, with one hand, we could count how many tracks we're considering to take this event to, and you're one of those. And you're our number one pick. Are you willing to do this, that, and the other? I said, absolutely, whatever you want. To have that kind of event at the race, at our racetrack, we hear it all the time from racers that are now in their 20s. Oh, I used to junior drag race here, and I used to do this, and my first win was here and there. And just to put that into those kids and give them that stage where the best of the best come in February and October, and for them to be able to race there, how could I not? How can I not give them that opportunity? And for Wright Trailers to consider us one of the elite facilities in the country, they caught wind of what we're doing, and they said, we want to partner up with you guys. And those guys, just like the TBM Brakes, Right Trailers, you see them everywhere throughout the country. They sponsor racers, programs, other racetracks. That's another company with Scott and them that they support the industry, and that's what we want to partner with. And somehow we're attracting one another, and it's only going to continue to grow. It isn't by coincidence. It isn't by coincidence.
That's true. That's true.
Well, again, I want to thank you, Raul, for taking the time coming on here and letting everybody know what's going on at South Georgia Motorsports Park. I've always had really good success there, racing years ago. 2 years ago, I didn't do so good at the bracket finals there. I went out early.
Well, it happens to the best of them.
Yeah. But we were there, Mitchell. That's what you got to think. We were there.
Well, I found out what the problem was. It was the nut that was holding the wheel. That was the problem.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. We could all say that, you got in the wrong side of the car, put the number on the window, just anything. You could just start with anywhere. But Raul, once again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and of your busy schedule, and be able to share with everybody not only you and your family's dream, but your passion. And what you're doing with the track is great. And we look forward to the wonderful changes this year and future. And so everybody out there, look up the schedule, South Georgia Motorsports Park. You'll see not only the bracket schedule, but all the scheduled events coming up. And they'll also keep things abreast on Facebook. And there you go. There's the bracket racing schedule, for example. And also the Mud Park and other activities that they are creating and having available to everybody. So I look forward to it. I'm going to be up there for Sick Week. I'm going to be up there for some points races. I'm hopefully going to be up there for the Lucas Oil race and some other things. But definitely look forward to it.
Well, Ken, thank you guys.
I'm trying to make it up there for lights out.
Say again, Raul?
Well, I can't thank you enough for having me on. I really, really appreciate you guys.
All right, sir. We thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Wish you and your family nothing but the best.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
And there goes Raul. I tell you what some great things happening there at South Georgia. He has a lot of passion. You could hear it in his voice tonight as he, spoke about the challenges and the things that they want to do, bring in different events to just try to also get the community involved in coming in there and supporting it. And, tracks cannot, support themselves if it's not the community around it coming in.
I completely agree. I mean, you heard him. And I mean, that was some questions that we were going to ask, and he had already explained it, that the city and South Georgia are working together really well. They're promoting the track and also by hiring and increasing their staff and things like that. So they're hiring people locally and whatnot. So I think that's great. It's nothing but a win-win for both the track and for the city. So I like it. I look forward to it. I really do. I mean, to me, I can hear the passion in his voice. I mean, he's not just doing this. He and his family are not just doing this for, a flash in the pan, if you would, or something like that. They're doing this because they thoroughly enjoy it. And to think basically outside of the drag racing box is number one, but the drag strip obviously at this moment is the main objective, the main, where your attention's at. And with the great history of events that have happened in past and in future, like Ducks Race, for example, and others, the Man Race and stuff. So to be able to open up different ideas and different venues, be able to use all of the facility is a great idea. And I'm glad he's doing it. And I don't see how it cannot take off.
Right. Well, again, I want to thank everyone who watched tonight's episode 2 of 2024. We've got some other things coming up here shortly. We're trying to get the McGaheys, all Chris and Mason. Hopefully we'll hear something back by the beginning of next week. If not, we'll take a little break on the 18th, and we'll come back on the 25th, and we will continue with our podcast. And don't forget, you can watch every race being live streamed from Gainesville Raceway on Saturday and Sunday. And I will actually put that schedule up as well as we go on. You will see it in our schedule that keeps getting updated weekly when those events will take place. But until next time, thank y'all for watching.
Thank you, and have a good night.